There are people who can walk away from a conversation and never think about it again. And then there are people who replay it before they even reach home. Not the whole conversation, just specific moments. A sentence that felt slightly off. A pause that lasted a fraction too long. A change in tone most people wouldn't even notice, and they don't replay it on purpose. It just returns. Quietly, automatically. Most people call this overthinking, but that word makes it sound unnecessary, as if the mind is creating problems that don't exist. But for people who do this, it doesn't feel unnecessary. It feels unfinished. Because for them, conversations aren't only about what was said, they're about what was meant. And whether those two things fully aligned, you can see it in small behaviors, rereading a message after sending it. Not to change it, just to feel it again. Mentally hearing how it might have sounded to the other person, noticing how someone responded, and wondering what existed underneath that response. It's not about assuming the worst. It's about searching for clarity, because once an interaction ends, something unusual happens. A version of you now exists in someone else's mind, and that version is outside your control. You can't adjust it. You can't explain it further. You can't see it directly. You can only infer it, so the mind tries to reconstruct it. It goes back through the interaction, looking for clues, not to rewrite the past, but to understand the present, because understanding how you exist in someone else's perception helps your brain predict what happens next. Whether the connection will feel the same, whether something has shifted, whether you are still seen in the way you intended to be seen. And this process rarely begins in adulthood. It usually starts much earlier. In environments where emotional reactions were unpredictable, where small changes in tone had meaning, where connection could feel stable one moment and uncertain the next. In those environments, attention became more than awareness. It became a form of stability. The brain learned that noticing subtle changes helped maintain connection, helped preserve emotional balance, so it adapted. It became more precise, more observant, more sensitive to patterns most people overlook. And eventually, this way of processing didn't turn off. It became part of how the person moved through relationships. But here's where it gets even more interesting. People who replay conversations often weren't confused during the conversation itself. In the moment, they were present, engaged, responsive. It's afterward, in the absence of feedback, that the mind returns. Because during the interaction, there is constant information, facial expressions, tone, timing. But once it ends, that information disappears, and the brain is left with interpretation instead of certainty. So it reviews what it already captured, not out of insecurity, but out of incompletion. And sometimes, this leads to a very specific behavior. Have you ever had someone come back to a conversation days later, just to clarify something they said? Or maybe you've done it yourself, bringing it up casually, as if it just crossed your mind. I was thinking about what I said earlier. I hope it came across the right way. It seems small, but psychologically, it means something deeper. It means the mind never fully closed the loop. Because for people who replay conversations, interactions don't end when they end externally. They end when they make sense internally. And this is connected to something even deeper than emotional sensitivity. It's connected to mental modeling, the ability to simulate other people's perspectives internally, to imagine how something felt from the outside, to see yourself from a position that isn't your own. This ability creates depth in relationships, but it also creates continuation, because the interaction doesn't only exist in reality, it continues inside the mind as a simulation. The brain runs different versions, different interpretations, not to create anxiety, but to reduce uncertainty, because uncertainty is what the nervous system struggles with most. Clarity allows it to relax. prediction allows it to feel safe. And people who replay conversations often have nervous systems that learned early on to rely on prediction, to anticipate subtle shifts, to prepare emotionally before those shifts fully happen. Over time, this creates individuals who are highly aware of relational dynamics. They notice when energy changes, when someone becomes slightly more distant, when warmth increases, when something feels different, even if nothing obvious occurred. And because they notice these things, their mind continues processing them, not loudly, not dramatically, but consistently. From the outside, they often appear calm, grounded, thoughtful, because much of their processing happens internally, privately. It doesn't interrupt their behavior. It refines it. It makes them more precise in how they communicate, more intentional in how they express themselves, not because they are trying to control others, but because they understand how easily perception forms. And once perception forms, it shapes connection. This is why replaying conversations isn't really about the past. It's about orientation. It's the mind making sure its internal map of relationships remains accurate. Because humans don't move through the world randomly. They move through mental maps of social reality. Who feels safe? Who feels distant? Who feels stable? And maybe there's another layer beneath all of it. Sometimes the replay isn't about something being unresolved. The other person may have understood exactly what you meant. They may have walked away feeling completely aligned. There may have been no confusion at all. And still, the mind returns, not to fix a mistake, not to prevent judgment, not even to correct a misunderstanding, but to make sure that what existed inside you was translated faithfully into the world outside you. Because for some people, it's not enough that a conversation ended smoothly. It matters that their intention was carried with precision, that what they meant and what was perceived were as close as possible. And that motivation can look similar from the outside. Sometimes it is insecurity, a quiet fear of being misread, of being seen in a way that doesn't feel accurate, but sometimes it's something else entirely. A personal standard, a kind of internal alignment, not needing reassurance that the other person understood, just needing to know that you showed up truthfully, that your words represented you, that your actions reflected what you actually meant, even if no one questioned them, even if no one noticed. And maybe that's why the replay continues, not because the moment was unstable, but because some minds don't disengage the second an interaction ends. They linger, not in doubt, but in detail. And in a world that moves quickly past nuance, that kind of attention can look like overthinking, when it might simply be a refusal to let meaning become approximate. If this felt familiar, there's more to understand.